Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of Question Period. Today's October 4th, 2024. Sorry for the water stains on my shirt. I just got out of the shower. I didn't realize there's 200 people in the waiting room. My bad. I mistimed that, so my hair is still wet. I've got my coffee. I've got my makeshift breakfast here, yogurt and granola. And we've got Question Period ready to go. Now, I don't normally stream on Fridays, but I felt the need to kind of do this today because I posted a video on MSB, the main channel, like maybe about an hour ago, and I saw some comments in there saying, "Are you streaming? Are you streaming? Are you streaming? What's going on?" I don't normally stream, but Question Period is pretty good right now, so we're gonna take a look at that because there's a lot of stuff going on with Justin Trudeau and this government freeze and how the Conservatives are pretty much going to the RCMP. So just a little bit of, background on everything that's going on, because there's still a lot of confusion. And for those that might not be fully in the loop, let me just summarize. The Liberals have messed up. Justin Trudeau's messed up with these slush funds, with, which Randy is it? All the corruption, all the backdoor deals. It's not right. It's rotten. It's illegal. So what Pierre has done is he pulled out this trick out of a magic hat, right? Reached deep down in there, yanked it out, a Hail Mary. Whether it was him, whether it was Andrew Scheer or another member of the Conservative Party. I got to bring my chair up. Hold on a second. That probably didn't do much. So he's someone in the Conservative Party came up with this, and they said, all right, instead of trying to solve things in Parliament, which is how everything has been done in the history of Canada. You have Parliament issues, you have other government bodies, other parties doing things. Everything gets solved in Parliament. Pierre Poilievre said, why don't we just go to the cops, right? Essentially, that's what's happened. They've committed crimes, not just some crazy like, hey, wow, we're after you, Trudeau, like clickbait headlines. No, the Liberals have committed crimes with these slush funds, right? It's real, it's legitimate. And so that's why the Liberals are panicking. So Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative Party, is saying, all right, we are going to the cops. And then you have the Liberals doing collateral damage, going, how dare he? This is an attack on democracy. If he's doing this to us, imagine what he's going to do to you. But you know what's interesting about that is when someone says, I'm going to go to the cops, if you haven't done anything wrong, okay, here's the phone. I'll call them for you. Go ahead. If you've done something wrong, you start to say, hey, whoa, let's talk about this. Please stop. Let's just chill out. Let's take a moment. Let's talk about this. And that is exactly how the Liberals are acting. And so ipso de facto, because now the RCMP is getting involved or potentially getting involved, you have a government freeze. The House Speaker, right, has said, all right, we're freezing everything. We're not talking about anything, only surface level stuff until this is resolved. So in order for this to be resolved, Justin Trudeau has to provide unredacted documents to show that, hey, nothing is wrong. Everything under the hood is fine. But he hasn't done that. He's rejected, actually, twice now to do that because something is wrong. So now we're stuck in this government freeze. Now the Bloc has said, if we don't get what we want by October 29th, and now they've since changed it to either like later today or next week, if we don't get what we want, we're going to vote for non-confidence. I could do that accent because français c'est ma première langue. So now you have this situation where the government can't really do its work. They're supposed to be working for Canadians. Justin Trudeau has gone around and said for years that he is working for Canadians. But if he was working for Canadians, he wouldn't allow a government shutdown, a freeze out. So he's not working for Canadians. He's working for himself. And they're trying to figure out how to bury all this evidence, how to change things around, or how to avoid the police 100%. Because yes, indeed, the RCMP could technically go and make some arrests. Now, there is the Parliament RCMP, the Sergeant of Arms, who does that within Parliament, but they've gone ahead of that. So instead of saying, that whole saying of like, mom, hey, mom, can I have this? And mom says no. So you go, hey, dad, can I have this? And dad says, okay, sure. So it's not even like that right now with the cops. It's not mom said no, so I go to dad. It's mom and dad said no. So I'm going to my cousin's best friend. And that's like how far Pierre has escalated this. And it's never really been done before. There's a lot of controversy around this, but nonetheless, it's pretty wild to see this happen in real time, and it is a little complicated. Now, that's my interpretation and very like vanilla breakdown of what is actually happening. But yes, indeed, for those wondering, can Justin Trudeau actually be arrested and charged criminally? 100%. Yes, he can. Yes, without a doubt. Can other members of the Liberal cabinet be arrested and charged? Yes, absolutely. Like they are protected within Parliament, but if this escalates to RCMP, then yeah, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. So that's where we are right now. Now, kind of circling back to the whole bloc threatening an election thing, right? You've got the bloc saying, if we don't get what we want, we're going to call an election. Now, in order for them to get what they want, which is more money for seniors, I've been told it's for seniors across Canada, not just Quebec, then the government has to vote on these motions. They have to be there and do work. But because government is frozen, they can't vote on this particular thing. They can have a vote in non-confidence because that's its own bracket. That's not for a motion, right? That's not for like a specific policy. That's saying we don't have confidence in the government, so we're going to try and vote this out. So in order for the bloc to get what they want, they have to be able to resume Parliament, resume government things, government business. But they can't right now because the House Speaker has ordered a freeze. So that just quite literally means that, you know, it cancels each other out and the bloc won't be able to get what they want because they can't vote on it. And so that's where we are right now. We're kind of at this standstill, right? This, you know, good, bad, and the ugly kind of final battle. Everyone's pointing at each other going, what's next? What's going to happen? That's where we are. And it's extremely interesting because this has not really ever happened in Canada. And so a lot of people are saying Pierre's not doing enough, right? Not a lot of people, but some people are saying Pierre's not doing enough. You know, just get Trudeau out and let's go with a federal election. What the Conservatives have proven over the past year or so is that they are literally doing things that have never been done. These rules that have been buried on books that are covered in dust, tucked away in a cellar somewhere. They have found them and they've pulled out this very meticulous rule book saying that, hey, we can do this. So 100% Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative Party, Andrew Scheer, everybody involved with this operation is literally making history. Whether it's successful or not, they're showing that they are going to the lengths of doing literally everything for me, for you, for all of Canadians. I just got goosebumps, maybe because it's cold, but nonetheless, the timing of that was pretty impeccable. So that's kind of where we are right now. And I see that there's a lot of people in here, 1,500 people. We haven't even started yet. So it's kind of crazy. So today in Parliament, in question period, again, the freeze is still ongoing. So we have to, they have to be very careful of what they talk about. But it was a lot of talking about this freeze and the slush fund. They are very, very restricted as to what they can talk about. If they break that privilege, if they start talking about things that they're not allowed to, then you start to see immediate arrest by Sergeant of Arms. So because the House Speaker, Greg Fergus, has decided we're freezing Parliament because all of this is crazy and we have to follow procedure, they are very, very limited as to what they can talk about. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are. You're all caught up to date. We're going to take a look at question period. They're still in the House right now. They're debating on different things and the government freeze and all this and that. So that's where we are. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another live stream. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone, we've got almost 2,000 people in here, holy smokes, to smash the like button and subscribe if you're not already. We're pretty close to, I think, 116,000. I don't know if we've passed it, but it'd be cool to hit 116K subscribers or 117 while we're on this stream, and see if we can get those likes up so more people can see what is going on. And of course, I do want to talk about how channel members get a discount code for 15% off. If you're a channel member on this channel or MSB, you get discount code for 15% off for just right now. It's the sticker packs. I've released 2 new packs. And so you can see that when you go to the community post or the tab, community tab of either this channel or MSB. I'm just going to kind of circle over that right now. Let's take a look here. So you've got, of course, the classics, the Wacko, Where's the Funds, Jail Trudeau, Penetrated, and the Milk Carton. That's one of the packs. Channel members get 15% off. If you're not a channel member, that's okay. You can still purchase them. And then you've got this new pack here. Only Scams, right? Play on OnlyFans with the Liberal logo. You got Freeland on a Broom, Trudeau Must Go, Keep Calm, Never Vote Liberal, and Stop the WEF. So both of those packs are available. Link down below in the description, the pinned comment of this live stream. And without further ado, let's get into this question period for those that haven't seen it.
Celebrating all of those who have made history with the Chamber of Commerce, as well as those who will help it continue to succeed in the future.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Sustainable Development Technology Canada was a federal foundation funded by over $1 billion of taxpayers' money. They violated their own conflict of interest policies 186 times, awarded $76 million of contracts inappropriately, awarded $59 million that went to 10 separate projects that were clearly ineligible. And in 63 separate instances, directors of the program voted in favor of payments to companies of which they had an interest. Parliament has made a reasonable request for the government to help the ongoing RCMP investigation by handing over documents to Parliament. However, this government has refused. The obstruction has grinded Parliament to a halt. Madam Speaker, it's time to axe the tax, cut the corruption, and call an election.
Yes. The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Madam Speaker, have you heard the phrase, the Conservative hidden agenda? That is something in which Canadians really do need to be aware of. And nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to this leader of the Conservative Party, Madam Speaker. He's good at slogans, he's great at bumper stickers, but I'll tell you, let me give you a tangible example of a hidden Conservative agenda. Think in terms of yesterday, the debate on the National Disability Program. I asked on 3 separate occasions, would the Conservatives commit to no cuts on that particular program? Even not one of them would commit to saying that they would not cut the National Disability Program. These are the types of things in which the Conservative Party is hiding from Canadians, Madam Speaker, because they know that the Conservative hidden agenda is something that the Canadians will not support.
Questions orales. Oral questions. The Honourable Member for Leeds Granville, Falcon Islands,
This NDP Liberal government.
Where was I? I didn't do it. I'm not used to streaming on Fridays. Oral questions. Questions. Honourable Conservative Party of Canada.
Government taxes are up, costs are up, crime's up, and time's up for this Prime Minister and his de facto Finance Minister, Carbon Tax Carney. Since taking on the role, the friends and business interests of Carbon Tax Carney have benefited with billions of tax dollars. $2 billion for his buddy at Telesat, and Brookfield getting a seat at the table to get their hands on $10 billion Canadian tax dollars. Suddenly, Carbon Tax Carney is raising funds for these Liberals in exchange for all of those billions. So will they cooperate with an investigation from Canada's lobbying commissioner?
The Honourable Minister of Flavors.
Well, Madam Speaker, the Death Valley well driller is poking more dry holes. Outstanding Canadians stepping up to advise the Liberal Party or any party is a very good thing. But what this member wants to cloud is the fact that, Madam Speaker, inflation's down, interest rates are down, wage settlements are up, the economy is up. We've reached a soft landing in this country. They should stop talking the country down. We're going to continue lifting the country up, Madam Speaker.
For Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Like all Canadians, I wish that every time we looked for a scandal, it wasn't just surface deep, like the Public Safety Minister found guilty of breaking the law, the Prime Minister broke the law, the Trade Minister
There it is.
broke the law. These guys can't help themselves. And now he wants to tell us that Canadians have never had it so good, and that's why they have Carbon Tax Carney, who's lining the pockets of his friends and himself, also that he'll raise a little cash for a dying Liberal Party. Canadians have had absolutely enough after 9 years of their corruption and grift. So why won't the Prime Minister subject his new de facto Finance Minister to the conflict of interest regime? Is he worried that he's going to be found guilty of breaking the law too?
Honourable Minister of Labour.
Madam Speaker, predictions of impending doom coming from that member in particular and his political party really sound discordant to Canadians. What is happening across this country, Madam Speaker, is that after the pandemic, we've achieved that rare feat, a soft landing, no recession, wage gains, inflation coming down, interest rates coming down in this country. The finance minister this very week putting in place measures that will make young people more able to purchase a home. Madam Speaker, these are things that you do when
Honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Let's talk about what they've achieved. Record lineups at food banks with 25% of Canadians not knowing where their next meal is coming from, not able to heat their homes. A third of food bank users being children. They are starving and freezing in the dark after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government and their carbon tax on everything that's being boosted by carbon tax. Carney, who's only doing it, of course, to raise his stock portfolio, which we saw with Brookfield stocks hitting 6 months high in exchange for policies from this government and for him fundraising for them. Canadians are broke. These Liberals broke them. Let's have a carbon tax election.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Well, Madam Speaker, Canadians know where this government stands. We've offered immediate and direct support to families, especially when they needed it most. We've delivered household savings and significantly strengthened our social safety net. And we've promoted fairer practices, greater competition across our industries. Notice, Madam Speaker, real solutions and zero slogans from this side. Well, I guess that's just the Liberal government for you.
Zero solutions and no slogans from the Liberal side? Did I hear that wrong? That was my interpretation. That's pretty funny.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Échemins, Lévis. 9 years ago, this government promised the world. Instead, we inherited a Canada that is failing seniors, families, and young people. This government has squandered the money Canadians entrusted to it. This government has created massive inflation. Rent has doubled, and homelessness now affects everyone, including young students and grandmas who can no longer make ends meet. Can this Prime Minister, the government, do the only honourable thing left and call an election? Honourable Minister. Madam Speaker, what Canadians truly fear is the hidden agenda of the Conservative Party. What would that member cut? She would cut food banks. She would cut support for housing, and we know full well that that party would cut tens of thousands of
Liberal jobs.
Tell
you that for free.
Canada. I think it's time for this member and this party to make public their secret hidden plan, which would be bad for Canada. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Échemins, Lévis. Well, the fact is that Canada has fallen behind our trade partner and neighbour, the United States, in terms of economic growth and productivity, Madam Speaker. But that's not all. The OECD predicts that Canada's economic growth...
This translator is on point, man.
OECD member countries over the next...
Hats off to this translator. I'm going to throw a W in the chat.
Control back over their own lives. The only way to do that is for an election to be called to get a Conservative government. Does the Prime Minister have the courage to dissolve the House? The Honourable Minister. Madam Speaker, when there is an election, that member will have to stop making false claims. She will have to publish the Conservative Party's secret hidden plan for cuts, for austerity, for removing support for our seniors, for housing, for municipalities, for infrastructure, and I could go on and on about what they would cut. Madam Speaker, our economy is strong, interest rates are down, the inflation is down, and Madam Speaker, we avoided a recession. We have a lot to accomplish, but we're working on it. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. The House is calling for a 10% increase in old age security for all seniors aged 65 to 74. But this is not just the will of the House of Commons. In fact,
they're not going to get it.
CND published a poll. Madam Speaker, do you know what percentage of Canadians agree with us? No fewer than 79%. 79% of those polls understand that depriving 65 to 74-year-olds of a pension increase to which older seniors are entitled means creating two classes of seniors. Will the Liberals finally say yes to the request not only of the House of Commons, but also of 79% of Canadians? The Honourable Minister for Seniors. Madam Speaker, I recently visited my colleague's beautiful riding. When I was there, I checked. There are 8,700 constituents in the members' riding who are eligible for the Canadian Dental Care Program now. And that is thanks to the federal Canadian Dental Care Program that she voted against, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean. 79% of Canadians agree with the Bloc Québécois that old age security should be improved for seniors aged 65 to 74. Everyone understands that it is unfair to create two classes of seniors. So the Liberals will also have to face up to this obvious fact. Otherwise, they will have to pay the political price. Do the Liberals understand that if they say no to 79% of Canadians, 79% of Canadians might want to say no to them?
Secrétaire parlementaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is also important to inform that 79% of Canadians that our government...
I got a couple gray beard hairs.
...implemented a host of good programs and
that I just found.
Seniors. We brought the retirement age for...
Is this what I'm going to look like?
67 to 65.
Next year?
We increased supports for most vulnerable seniors, including women, persons with disabilities, those with needs.
It's happening.
We also enhanced the guaranteed income supplement. And you know who voted against all of that, Madam Speaker? The Bloc Québécois.
Lebanese Canadians have told me they're terrified for their loved ones. They are horrified by the Israeli bombs destroying their family homes. Canadian citizens are trapped. Leaving Lebanon is getting harder. Nowhere is safe. We have been demanding sanctions on Netanyahu, an arms embargo, safe evacuation routes, and for this government to step up and push for a ceasefire. People in the region want peace and security. Why isn't this government doing everything in its power to end the war?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
It's crazy that the NDP stands with Hezbollah.
Raised concerns about civilians and people in Lebanon, as we have about civilians in Israel, in Gaza, and the West Bank. We will continue to advocate for peace. The violence, the destruction in Lebanon has to end. Canada has joined with its allies and has called for an immediate 21-day ceasefire. That is the only way that we can get diplomacy to work. Wars kill people. Diplomacy will work. We have to give it a chance. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For Windsor West.
Madam Speaker, rents are skyrocketing and families can't find an affordable place to live. Liberals and Conservatives have stood by and done nothing while corporate landlords buy up previously affordable apartments to jack up rent and increase profits for their shareholders. Now we find out that these landlords may be using AI software to coordinate rent increases and price people out of their own homes.
No way!
Under investigation for illegal price fixing in the United States. Why won't the Liberals act to stop greedy corporate landlords from ripping off Canadians and using AI as a strategy to evict people from their homes?
That's right.
Wait, what? Who has heard about this before? AI to strategically price people out? Isn't Trudeau and the Liberal cabinet, aren't they like super pro AI? Like Trudeau just gave a speech at the Francophonie Summit in France, and he's all about AI. This is the first I hear about it. That's wild. Wild.
Parliamentary Secretary.
The member is an experienced member of this House, Madam Speaker. Surely he knows that rent is a provincial area of jurisdiction, but we have not turned our way from our responsibility to help renters at this time. We've added to supply. We've waived GST on the construction costs of apartments for middle and low-income Canadians. The Conservatives would reimpose that, Madam Speaker. We need to add supply in the context of high interest rates. That measure is doing that. We put forward a Renters' Bill of Rights as well. That is the first time a federal government has acted in that direction. We're going to continue to support renters, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
Breaking news. The RCMP Commissioner confirmed that the Prime Minister's hand-picked directors to the Green Slush Fund are under criminal investigation. So what we have now is the Liberals not only defying an order of this House to produce the documents and turn them over to the RCMP, Liberals are now obstructing justice by refusing to cooperate with the RCMP investigation. 9 Green Slush Fund appointees have been implicated in funneling $400 million to their own companies. Are Liberals obstructing justice so their cronies can avoid jail?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Wow.
House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. And I am disappointed in the Conservative Party's approach, and I'm not alone. if you take a look in terms of what it is that the Auditor General of Canada is saying and the RCMP is saying in regards to the Conservative tactic, and people should really note this, they are extremely uncomfortable. You have caused a great deal of discomfort to those independent offices because of your behavior here on the floor of the House of Commons.
The honourable member to speak through the chair. I hope I haven't caused anything to anyone.
Wow.
Secretary.
Yeah, you can't address him directly.
Madam Speaker, I would suggest to you that the Conservative Party needs to be more sensitive and listen to what the RCMP.
The honourable member for South Shore St. Margaret.
There it is.
This House is listening to the RCMP when the RCMP commissioner said yesterday that he's investigating the corruption at the Green Slush Fund. You know, they use as an excuse the Charter. The Charter does not exist to protect Liberals and prevent and create obstruction of justice opportunities. As Liberals cling to dear life to the secret documents, they obstruct justice. Hundreds of millions of dollars have already been funneled to Liberal cronies. What's the true number? Is it billions? Is it 2 billion? Will the Liberal who is obstructing justice and knows the true amount of the
honourable parliament?
Please stand up. Wow, this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Conservative Party playing games at a great expense to Canadians, solely focused on their party fortunes and anything else, as opposed to trying to do filibusters on the floor of the House of Commons. Why don't they listen? Listen to what the RCMP, listen to what the Auditor General is saying, Madam Speaker. And what they are saying is this Conservative tactic causes great concern, and it's justified as the Conservatives are trying to blur the whole issue of judicial independence. Shame on them.
The honourable member for Calgary Heritage.
So the RCMP commissioner, for those that didn't catch that, has confirmed that they are investigating Justin Trudeau as per that Conservative MP. I'll say that one more time. For crying out loud. The RCMP commissioner has confirmed that they are launching an investigation criminally into Justin Trudeau. So it is happening, folks. You just heard it right there. And the Liberal MP did not deny it. They're saying that it's unfair and unjust. And this brings me back to the talking point that I made at the start of this video. It's happening. Something you've never seen before. We've talked about how the RCMP should get involved, but the Conservatives found a legal loophole. Somebody went down into the basement of Parliament, into a locked door, or must have, and broke through it. Maybe the lock wasn't working. They got through all the cobwebs, right? And they found this book that said, that was behind a piece of glass that said, break in case of emergency. And they broke it, and they're reading the book, and it was like, hey, by the way, if there's really a lack of confidence in the running government, the party, and there's substantial evidence to show that they are breaking laws, criminal laws, then you can use this. And that's what the Conservatives are doing right now. The RCMP commissioner has confirmed yesterday that they are investigating Justin Trudeau. So it is happening, folks. It's happening. And the only way that Trudeau can get out of it is if he releases the documents, right? He has to release the unredacted documents, which would incriminate him. Or I don't know what the other option is. None of us really know, because this is the first time it's ever happened. He releases the documents and he incriminates himself, or he lets time go on, and then, you know, maybe the RCMP commissioner says, okay, we've investigated and there's nothing there, but we all know that's not going to happen. And so this is what happens when Liberals are not listening to Canadians. And the Conservatives have pulled off like the biggest Hail Mary that we've ever seen in Canadian history. And it's phenomenal. And before I hit play, let's drop some W's in the chat for Pierre, for the Conservative team, for doing this, because there's a lot of confusion around this. But just know that some crazy stuff is happening for the first time ever in Canadian history. And it's very likely to land Justin Trudeau criminally charged, or other Liberal MPs criminally charged or held accountable to some degree with the law. It's phenomenal, right? They're playing this high IQ level chess.
Freedoms, not the charter of crime and corruption, as the Deputy House Leader seems to contend. 9 years of NDP Liberals. Taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up. Guess what? Conflict of interest is up too.
Hey.
Green slush fund, the Auditor General reported 82% of transactions, nearly $400 million poured into the pockets of Liberal insiders. The House demanded the government hand these documents to the RCMP. The Prime Minister refuses. How many more millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars?
Well, Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you.
Oh, he's screwed.
You know, I would note that the member made reference to the Charter of Rights. You know, yesterday I heard Conservative member say that parliamentarians should have the right to put people in jail, Madam Speaker. They have no credibility when it comes to the issue of the Charter of Rights and protecting judicial independence. They are literally laughable yesterday in terms of their performance on this issue. They should be ashamed of the way in which they throw to the side the independent office
Misinformation.
RCMP, and they walk on the
Honourable member for Calgary.
Okay. That right there is blatant mis and disinformation. The Conservatives, there is nobody from the Conservative Party that is suggesting that, hey, look, they are going to go and arrest and have criminally charged civilians. That is extremely misleading, very disingenuous. It's mis and disinformation at the highest level, probably with a hint of Russian propaganda in there. Throw at them what they've thrown at Conservatives, right? No, the Conservatives have given Liberals a chance. They've called 2 votes of non-confidence, and other parties have blocked it from happening. Justin Trudeau is not taking accountability for these slush funds, for all of the corruption, for which Randy is it, the millions, billions of dollars that has gone to wasteful spending towards pocketing himself and all of his friends and family. And now Carbon Tax Carney is, you know, in that spotlight. You stepped in at the wrong time, buddy. I really have to say. Not that I want to protect, you know, Carbon Tax Carney's reputation. I think that he's exactly where he should be with all of the corruption, and that's very unfortunate for him. But no, what that Liberal MP just said, they are not. The Conservatives, Pierre, is not going after civilians. He's not saying, hey, that person walking down the street, John Doe, right? Let's go after him. Nope, that's not at all what's happening. Pierre has given ample amount of time for the Liberals to take accountability for their actions, to come forward. They've done investigations. It always gets blocked. They've had committee hearings. It gets blocked and denied by NDP. They've had this sense of immunity. They've had this shelter of immunity and the halo around them, which compiles of the NDP and the Bloc. And this freaking Hail Mary that they found, I mean, I see the last super chat here on the live stream says, not a religious man, but thank the Lord for whatever Conservative went down to the basement and found a loophole that might have saved Canada. Absolutely. Like, that's exactly what they are doing right now. This is huge. And I really encourage everyone to, you know, subscribe to this channel, to the, you know, my MSB one, House of Canada, and turn post notifications on, because this is going to hit the fan in a way that we've never, ever seen before. There's no way around this. They can't just say, no, we're not doing it. The RCMP is now literally involved, the commissioner of the RCMP. There's too much eyes, there's too much attention, and this legal workaround that they've found is just like chef's kiss. Mwah, beautiful. It's phenomenal. So the Liberals are flinging mud, and they don't know what's about to hit them. They're perpetuating lies and mis and disinformation with probably a hint of Russian propaganda in there to try and add, you know, more social points, so social credits points, right? Whatever you want to call it, to them saying, oh, wow, look, Conservatives are big and bad. Liberals are big and bad. You guys have had so many opportunities, so many chances to come forward and call an election so we can move on. Stop holding Canadians hostage. And now the cops are involved. Uh-oh.
Madam Speaker, the Charter protects people from government, not politicians from prison. I think that the Deputy House Leader would be well advised to think about how every parliamentarian is not above the law. Well,
honestly, that's like the best bumper sticker or slogan I've heard. You know, the Charter of Rights protects people from government, not politicians from police or jail. Like, that is just freaking phenomenal, man. These guys are just on point. And it's unfortunate that on this Friday's episode here, that the House is empty, the government shut down, they can't do anything. All they can talk about is this. That's it. They can't talk about anything else. All they can talk about is very few and select things. And it sucks that it's not a full house, but people go out and about and do their thing, right? A lot of them return home to their constituency and stuff like that. So It's nuts. This is crazy. This is underwhelming. This is the thing about politics that just gets swept under the rug, right? The important stuff like this, because people are like, it's not really that interesting. There's only a few people. There's only a few people in the House. How important can it be? We're finding out it's extremely important. Extremely.
While Canadians struggle with higher taxes, grocery prices, and housing costs, Parliament halts. Yet Liberals still hide the truth, refusing to release documents. 2 million people turn to food banks. Liberal insiders get rich. The RCMP investigates. When will Liberals comply with the RCMP, stop obstructing justice, and give Canadians their money back?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I realize the member across the way is relatively new. Let me give him a bit of a refresher. Let me talk about Conservative corruption, the anti-terrorism scandal, the Phoenix scandal, the G8 spending scandal. Remember the gazebo? The ETS scandal, $400 million. The F-35 scandal. What about the Senate scandal? Not to mention the election scandals. Madam Speaker, there's a plural on that one because one of their members actually went to jail. Madam Speaker, we don't need to be taking lessons from the Conservative Party of Canada on scandals. They led the way.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. After 9 years of
Ah, shit. Was I muted? Ah, for crying out loud. Dude, come on. I just gave out the winning lottery numbers for the next Super Lotto Max. Are you kidding me? I saw into the future. I just gave out $1 billion answer for crying out loud, for crying out loud. Come on. Somebody could have been rich. And the freaking mute was muted. The mic was muted. Damn it! I pulled a Fergus. See, this is what happens. This is what happens, Greg Fergus, when you mute the mic. When you mic the mute, you don't know how long it's muted for. Huh? This is why we have to sign that petition once I freaking get it up and running. For crying out loud. Tabarnak. See. I forget what the hell I was saying. Let's just go on.
this bloc-backed Liberal government, they're just not worth the cost of corruption.
Mute the mic.
Lost control, Madam Speaker. Corruption reigns free in that party. The RCMP is doing it.
Doesn't have to make sense. We got rid of the penny.
Slush fund, $400 million from the Green Slush Fund went to Liberals. The Auditor General alone found 186 conflicts of interest. Why does the Prime Minister refuse to tell the full truth? Why is he hiding documents from the RCMP investigation? Who's he trying to protect?
I remember what I was saying. I was saying if it wasn't 11:55 in the morning, but now it's 11:57, a couple minutes have gone by after my little tantrum, all right? If it wasn't 11:57 in the morning, I'd be cracking a beer and celebrating because they are screwed. The Liberals are screwed. Am I muted again? Wet, right? They are screwed, man. Whatever. Let's go on. I lost the momentum. I'll take the L.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Madam Speaker, I'm not too sure if the member across the way heard what it is that I said in terms of the Conservative corruption that is out there. This is serious stuff. Where were they when we had this type of corruption taking place? I talked about the anti-terrorism scandal, and the list goes on. I want to focus on the election scandals because the only parliamentarian that I'm aware of that was literally taken away in leg irons was the parliamentary secretary to the Prime Minister, Stephen Harper.
Harper.
Madam Speaker, where was the Conservative Party when the Conservative Party demonstrated so much corruption?
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable.
And it's all Harper's fault. You know what? It's all Sir John A. Macdonald's fault. You want to go back in time? Let's go to the start. Let's go to the start. Let's go back to when John A. Macdonald was born, January 11th, 1815. No, I'm not a super genius. I have it pulled up on my second monitor. Okay, I Googled it. All right? So no, I don't know that offhand. Let's just blame everything on him, you know? He was the first person to invent the carbon tax. Let's just go right back to the beginning. Am I freaking muted again? All right, we're good.
You see, Madam Speaker, after 9 years, this government has a culture of secrecy and corruption, all created in the party by the Prime Minister. And it's so deeply rooted, this culture of secrecy, that the House can no longer do its job. This government is hiding documents from Canadians. This government, once again, is flouting a House of Commons order. This government is disrespecting the will of a majority of parliamentarians who want to get to the bottom of the Green Slush Fund. 2 million Canadians are going to food banks. When will Canadians be reimbursed for this government's corruption and incompetence?
Pick up on the word when the member makes reference to disrespect. When I say disrespect is when the official opposition and the leader of the far-right Conservative Party completely ignores the advice that's being provided by the independence of our RCMP as an institution and the Auditor General. Madam Speaker, I think it's irresponsible. It's ridiculous that the leader of the Conservative Party ignores that information. At the same time, you know, when we talk about corruption, talk to me about the individual that walked away in leg irons because of Conservative.
Tout fini. They're tout fini. They are so screwed. They are crying wolf. How? No, it's not fair, Madam Speaker. They went to the cops. They went to the cops, Madam Speaker. It's not fair. Yeah, dude, you've had a bajillion chances. No doubt they went to the cops. No doubt. Come on.
Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. The House voted to put an end to having 2 classes of seniors by increasing by 10% OAS payments for those aged 65 to 74. 79% of Canadians who were polled support this. The Minister for Seniors will have to explain this. He is penalizing 12,000 seniors in his riding of Gatineau, 30,000 in the greater Gatineau area. Can he explain why his government would prefer to call an election rather than give these seniors a single penny more? The Honourable Minister for Seniors. I thank
the block is trying so hard.
The math brought up yesterday about the number of 65 to 74-year-olds in the riding of Gatineau. He didn't apologize, but thank you for correcting it. Now, there is some more math for this House. 10,000, Madam Speaker. 10,000 constituents in his very riding who today are eligible for the federal Canadian Dental Care Plan that we implemented despite his vote against this plan, which helps so many people. The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Soon, they will have an opportunity to apologize to many seniors. What do the Liberals do for seniors? The Minister for Seniors is depriving 12,000 people of 10% increase in their OAS, and the Quebec Lieutenant is depriving 15,000 people, and the Prime Minister who represents Papineau is depriving 8,000 seniors of an increase. We, the Bloc Québécois, will do everything for those seniors. With Liberal MPs and ministers like that, wouldn't we be better off with an election? The Honourable Minister for Seniors. Madam Speaker, not only have we supported seniors by targeting supports to the most vulnerable seniors, we've also invested in housing. We're also very proud to have increased OAS. We also increased...
But they don't want to increase it more.
...for taxable income so that we could help seniors who wanted to remain in the labour market. Do you know who voted against all of that, all of those measures, Madam Speaker? The member across the way and his whole party, the Bloc Québécois.
After 9 years of these NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, corruption is up, and time is up. Now it's confirmed that the RCMP is doing an investigation into this Liberal Green Slush Fund. $330 million of taxpayer funds was paid out in 186 cases of conflicts of interest. It is despicable that Liberal insiders lined their own pockets. Those who broke the law must be brought to justice. So when will this scandal-ridden government hand over all the documents to the RCMP and recover every last dollar of embezzled funds?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I would pose the question, when will the Conservative Party actually start respecting the independence of the RCMP? When will they take and start respecting the independence of the Auditor General? When will they actually start to work for Canadians inside the House of Commons by stop talking so that we could actually get on to government legislation and do what the resolution or the motion that they brought forward, and that was to see the bill or the motion actually go to the Standing Committee, Madam Speaker.
All right. So you talk about working for Canadians, right? You talk about working for Canadians. The Liberals, by hiding all the information, by not providing unredacted reports, they are the ones that are holding, again, Canadians hostage. They are the ones that have caused this this government shutout, this freeze. So it's so disingenuous for the Liberals to make the claim, oh, how dare the Conservatives not respect democracy and not work for Canadians. Dude, you are not working for Canadians by not providing the appropriate documents so that we can resume you people that make $250,000 a year doing your jobs and actually try and get something productive done. It is absolutely insane. They are just crying at the fact that the police are investigating. That's not on Pierre. That's a legal thing that he has done. That's a legal thing. He pulled out the rule book. Pierre hasn't done anything illegal. He's following literally the law of what they are allowed to do. So for Liberals to make the claim that he's not respecting democracy and that he's being disingenuous to Canadians, no, he's literally following the law to try and have you people that have broken the law be held accountable. That's on you. You don't commit crimes and then complain that, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean you're going after the police to investigate me? Come on, bro. I thought we were cool, man. Come on. That's not fair. How dare you go to the cops? We're in Parliament. We're supposed to deal with things in Parliament. Yeah, we've tried that. The Conservatives have tried to do that. And you, the Liberals, the NDP, and even the Bloc sometimes have denied any sort of investigations through the parliamentary procedure, through the parliamentary system into those things. You've had committee hearings where literally NDP members, they vote in committee saying, are we going to talk about this today? NDP says, no, it's not unanimous, or they have more says than Conservatives in those committee hearings, committee meetings, and then it's done. They show up into a boardroom. Are we going to talk about this today? They vote and the NDP blocks it and they say no, and then everyone leaves the boardroom. And you've seen those videos where then Conservative MPs take out their phone and they make a video. Hey, what's up, everybody? We're here. We're trying to fight the good fight for you guys. But look, these people are blocking it once again. And then you could see NDP and Liberals walk out of the room behind them. We've seen this time and time again, a lot more now than ever. A lot more in 2024. You know, there was some in 2023, a little bit in 2022, and it's ramping up. Up. So yes, of course, they went through the rule book and they found somewhere covered in dust, covered in cobwebs, this ability to be able to pull out this tactic, and it's a Hail Mary, and it's working. Look, they're crying about it right in front of us. It's kind of funny. It's really, really funny.
The
Honourable Member from Montmagny, Lille, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. Madam Speaker, 9 years of this Liberal government means 9 years of scandals. The RCMP has opened another investigation. Corruption has become synonymous with this Liberal government. Canadians are still waiting for answers about the Liberal Green Slush Fund, which paid $390 million in 180 cases of conflict of interest. This is Canadians' money, Madam Speaker. Canadians can't afford to house themselves or eat if all of their money ends up in the hands of Liberal insiders. Madam Speaker, when will this corrupt Liberal government allow Canadians to keep their money? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I have had the opportunity to answer this question, and I think in fairness, what I would like to suggest to the members opposite, that they really do listen to what the RCMP and the Auditor General have to say on the issue. If they want to do a comparison, as I've tried to highlight, the many different scandals of the Stephen Harper era in which the leader of the Conservative Party today was a part of that cabinet, Madam Speaker.
Move on.
I think that they need to start reflecting internally on their behavior, because because not once did they ever make the type of inquiry or demand rather than...
The honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Since we're on the topic, my good sir, why don't we go back to Sir John A. freaking MacDonald and start investigating that? Like, come on, move on. Are you serious? Move on. You've got scams, only scams, liberal scams, which, by the way, get your stickers linked down below in the description and the pinned comment of the live stream. You have these scams that are costing Canadians hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, and this guy's focusing on stuff that happened 10 plus years ago. It's happening right now. Like, show that you stand up for democracy, and you have an opportunity right now to stop the scams. For crying out loud.
After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, time is up, and incompetence is up. The Minister of the Environment ignored the science, and as a result, Jasper burned. The proof? His own executives were caught discussing cancelling prescribed burns for political optic reasons. Yet prescribed burns are an essential tool for preventing wildfires. Will this minister accept responsibility for his failure and apologize to the 2,000 residents of Jasper who have lost their homes and their businesses?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
What the member opposite just said is simply not true. And if I wasn't in this House, I would probably be using another word. There's been 10, 15 prescribed burns in the last 10 years, Madam Speaker, and the email he's referring to are Parks Canada employee discussing whether or not to use mechanical removals or prescribed burns. What he's saying is absolutely false, and he should be ashamed, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the Minister of Environment claims to be proud of his preparations for the catastrophic Jasper wildfire, yet 1/3 of Jasper was destroyed. $1 billion in damages. 2,000 people homeless. It can hardly be described as a success. Everyone knew Jasper was a tinderbox. My former colleague Jim McGlinskey even tried to warn the government in this House as far back as 2016. Yet not enough was done to protect the town of Jasper. How many more parks need to burn down before this minister is replaced by somebody who knows how fire works?
Oh my goodness.
Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
Talk about what we're doing on this side and what they did when they were in power. The last year that this party was in power, $2 million to fight forest fires with Parks Canada. What we've done in the last few years, $85 million to help fight forest fires, to give means to our forest firing force at Parks Canada to work with the Alberta government, to work with the city of Jasper. $2 million on their side, $85 million on our side, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
Okaktitiyi, Indigenous elders endured genocidal policies resulting in Indigenous women and girls being missing and murdered. Thanks to the Liberals, Wik-Wemkong First Nations elders are on the verge of exile. Long-term care facilities are important for passing on intergenerational love and knowledge to keep Indigenous peoples alive. Liberals are refusing an act of reconciliation. When will this government deliver the funding needed for the Wik-Wemkong elders' home?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank the member opposite for her question. And it's true that elders are an important part of Indigenous communities. We know that it's important to continue to support Indigenous women, especially on Sisters in Spirit Day. And I'd also like to just, while I have the ability, to congratulate the Nova Scotia Native Women's Association on their brand new Indigenous Women's Resilience Centre. They opened last month. It's the first ever in provinces across Canada. So congratulations to Nova Scotia Native Women's Association on an amazing achievement.
Okay, we got to talk about a couple things here. This is extremely disingenuous. You still have Indigenous communities in Canada right now. Smaller communities, sure, off the beaten path, but nonetheless, in Canada, they can't drink tap water. They can't drink water that comes out of their tap. The water is brown. You want to make a coffee in the morning, you got to go to a water jug, put that into your kettle or whatever, or boil the water, and that's how you drink your water. You want to do dishes? Yeah, a lot of people don't use that brown water. So you got to now take water and heat it up and put it in your sink. This is a real thing in Canada. Real. Absolutely. So that's extremely disingenuous for the NDP to criticize the failing Liberal government that has promised Indigenous communities and all of these smaller communities better infrastructure. Say, okay, we're going to get you clean drinking water. This has been over 9 years, like 9 years of these promises, and they haven't done that. So that is the first thing. That is absolutely just extremely disingenuous and insane. And the second thing is going back to what Stephen Guilbeault said about the controlled burns. Bragging about 15 controlled burns in 10 years. That's nothing. That's a speck on the map. That's not even close to how much they should be doing. To really manage forest fires, to manage forest management, you need about 15 controlled burns per year. Experts say. Like, that's insane for him to brag about doing that in 10 years when that should have been how much they've done in 1 year. That's how you manage a fire. That's how you manage a forest to prevent, these catastrophic forest fires that consume our national parks, our national treasures. So for Guilbeault to make that claim of, hey, don't worry, we've done 15 in 10 years. Yeah, that's the problem we're talking about, dude. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for paying attention, finally. That's the exact problem we're talking about. You've just admitted guilt. The Liberals pulled back on controlled burns because people were complaining that they were putting more carbon into the air. So you had climate activists saying, no, don't do controlled burns. Don't do it. You're polluting. You're polluting. A controlled burn would have been this big, whereas a forest fire that we've seen is massive, huge, the biggest, as Trump would say, the biggest. The forest fires are the biggest in Canada. Right? That's crazy to say that we're not going to do more controlled burns, which would prevent the biggest forest fires from happening. Right? A lot of small ones instead of having a huge one that's out of control. That's the difference. Out of control forest fires, we can try to stop it. Oftentimes, not successful before it wipes out a majority of a national park. Controlled burn, on the other hand, yeah, we can control it. It's called control. It's literally in the name. Kind of crazy that this incompetence has resulted in a climate emergency, right? They are literally to blame. They're the toxic scums of the earth, Liberals. They are ruining this country with their optics. You have people in suits and ties on the House floor trying to make rules on stuff that they have no idea what they're talking about. And in case you're wondering where I was getting all these talking points, from my phone from professionals in the field. Professionals in the field that are texting me these talking points right now. So it's absolutely insane for the Liberals to make those claims when I'm talking to professionals that actually know how to freaking manage forest fires and do controlled burns. But you have Stephen Guilbeault that goes, oh, we can't do controlled burns. It's gonna pollute our sky. Oh my goodness. Okay, well then let's just let a whole national park burn, I guess. Are you happy? No? All right, let's maybe do controlled burns again. These people are just so they're so dumb. They're so dumb.
The minister said they would hold back the Canada Disability Benefit until July 2025. What a disgrace. Over 1 million people with disabilities live in poverty today. They need support to pay for rent, groceries, and medication. And the Conservatives are no better. They'll cut dental care, health care, essential services persons with disabilities are entitled to. This government needs to act now, not next year. Will they stop the delay and deliver the Canada Disability Benefit immediately?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, this opposition party, the Conservative Party, will do nothing at all for persons with disabilities. We are the party that has stood by persons with disabilities, $6.1 billion to help people with disabilities be lifted, and this was in our budget, the biggest line item. We are proud of this, the Canada Disability Benefit. We are standing with the disability community, working together to uplift people. We are the government that is doing this. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Look at your notes next time. That was horrible.
Markham Stoughton.
Madam Speaker, Canadians deserve reliable and safe travel options. That means efficient airports that can adapt to high demand. It also includes targeted investments in regional airports, such as at the Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport.
Right turn in 200 meters.
Islands. Could the Minister of Transport update this House about a recent announcement that will benefit Canadian travellers and improve connectivity?
All right, I don't know who the hell invited Siri.
The Treasury Board and Minister of Transport.
Madam Speaker, Canadians are asking for better service at airports. Last week, I was pleased to make an announcement.
You've been sitting there for, probably an hour or at least 30 minutes, Anita. And you know it's Madam Speaker. Fridays is Madam Speaker. And you've watched people get up and say, Madam Speaker. And the first thing she gets up and says, Mr. Speaker. Oh, that's embarrassing. It's like going to watch a movie or when you board a plane and you go to the movie, right? And then you buy your ticket or whatever, your popcorn. They say, enjoy your movie. And you say, thanks, you too. And you walk away and you're like, shit. No, you're not watching the movie. You're sitting there doing your job, right? That's like so embarrassing. You've had so much time to prepare. You stand up, Madam Speaker, and then you check your notes. Like, come on, man. These people, they got no brain cells. No brain cells.
At Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport with having pre-clearance at that airport. Canadians can expect smoother travel between Canada and the United States. More travel options, more economic growth, more tourism, more trade, more security. Madam Speaker, that's what it's all about. Unlike the opposition, we are here for Canadians. We're here for productivity.
The Honourable.
Come on!
Madam Speaker, the Minister from Edmonton misled committee when he testified that he had no communications with his shady business partner at or around the time of an alleged $500,000 fraud implicating a Randy. But when phone records demonstrated that that wasn't true, he changed his story and admitted to phoning and texting the shady business partner at that very time. If the minister isn't for Randy implicated in the alleged fraud, why did he mislead committee?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well said.
Yes, Madam Speaker, it's all about character assassination from the Conservatives. Not once, but twice, the minister in question has actually been cleared by the Ethics Commissioner. Having said that, Madam Speaker, instead of attacking personalities day in and day out, maybe the Conservative Party should start listening to what Canadians are wanting to deal with. Why isn't the Conservative Party being a little bit more forthright on what their hidden agenda is really about? Canadians want to see a dental program, a pharmacare program, a school food program, a child care program, and a healthy health program.
Member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Okay.
Madam Speaker.
I'll admit that in a perfect world, in a perfect economy where people are thriving, sure, those social programs sound good. They might actually be good, right? Again, keyword, in a perfect world with a more perfect economy than what we have right now. But as we're realizing, that's not the case. That's not the case. Eggs are what, $10? I don't know. My wife does most of the grocery shopping, I'll be honest. But when I do go, I look at the prices, or when I look at the bill, I go, what? What the hell is this? Things are so expensive. You know where I go out for food, right? We don't go to restaurants. We don't go to the Keg or, not Chuck E. Cheese, but other family-friendly restaurants. You know where we go on our outing with our family? We go to Costco. There ain't nothing wrong with it. In fact, I love it and I brag about it. But nonetheless, $1.50. Here's what we get. This is how insane our economy is. We go to Costco and we get 2 hot dog combos for $1.50 each, and then it puts in. And then what we do is we each take a part of our hot dog and we cut it off for our daughter so that we lose equally. The parents lose equally the amount of their hot dog. And then we open up the container for the poutine. We divide it 50-50, and then we set aside equally the same amount for our daughter. There you go. That's how we do it. We don't go to McDonald's because it's like $12. There's no more toucan dine for $9.99. It's toucan dine for an arm and a leg, right? Plus 99 cents. Are you kidding me? We got a budget. You got to budget. There's no more family outings at McDonald's. Don't even get me started on Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen's insane. You go and you get a cup of ice cream or a cone of ice cream. And it's crazy. It's like $5.99 for like a small ice cream. McDonald's does cheaper ice cream, and then it's smaller. And then you go to Costco and you get a big thing of ice cream for like $3.99. Our outings, family feeds 2 adults and our daughter that is just about to turn 2. $9.64. 2 hot dog combos and a poutine. And that's what we do. And we do that maybe once a week. Might even do that tonight. Hell, why not, right? Maybe once every couple of weeks, right? But that's our outing. That's what we do. Yeah, it's repetitive, and sometimes we switch it up and we get one of those huge, large pizzas, the pre-made one at the cafeteria in Costco for $12.99 or $13.99. But that's what we do. And for these people to say that, these social programs are great, dude, when you're not even going to McDonald's and you're going to Costco because there's one OG board member who has literally said to everybody else, if you change the price of the concession, I will personally write you off. I'm going to gone, done, finito. He said that on the record. Pretty boss status to say that. I'm not going to lie, right? Costco is the last stronghold for a cheap outing for food. And it's not really they got the dinette area, right? But it's not made for that. But we still do it nonetheless. So that's not a good economy when that is what when not that I am the gold standard for what a good economy is or not. But nonetheless, if people are resulting to that, if people are resulting to literally just crunching pennies on groceries, limiting how much they're going out, right? You can't buy steak because it's so expensive, right? You certainly don't want to go out to a fancy restaurant like Keg and buy steak. It's $45 for the steak, and then you end up eating all the freaking bread. You stuff up on bread and water because it's free, right? It's included, and then you take your steak, half of it to go home. That's not a thriving economy. So spending billions of dollars on these social programs, sure, it seems great in theory, but it's the wrong time. It might be a good idea, or it might even, I'm going to make the argument that it might even be the right idea, but the wrong time, and that's what matters. Right? These social programs, if we were thriving, if our dollar was phenomenal, if people had a lot of money coming in and savings were good, we didn't have to worry about housing, everyone's happy. It doesn't seem that far long ago. We were kind of living there and we kind of took it for granted. At least I did, looking back, 2020 hindsight, right? If we were in that position again right now or coming up, then sure, then social programs, we can revisit that. But right now, it's a good idea in certain cases, but it's the wrong time. And that can exist. It can be a good idea at the wrong time. And that's what we're finding. It's unfortunate, man. It's really unfortunate.
Here, let's get this straight. Text messages implicating Randy. The minister's shady business partner can't identify another Randy. We know that the minister contacted his shady business partner at the time of the alleged fraud, and text messages place the Randy in Vancouver at the same time as the minister. How much evidence is it going to take for the Prime Minister to fire this corrupt minister?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I've already answered that question. And at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, what
you hear the hyena?
To take for the Conservative Party and the leader of that far-right Conservative Party to understand that there is an obligation to be responsible here in Ottawa on the floor of the House of Commons, Madam Speaker. That means allowing debates to occur on the important issues that Canadians are facing today. Instead of focusing their attention on the Conservative Party, Madam Speaker, they should be focusing their attention on Canadians.
The member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Well, Madam Speaker, the member dodged the question the first 2 times, so let's give him a third time. The Minister of Employment and his business partner, Stephen Anderson, have refused to cooperate with an investigation into their fraud-ridden company.
Here we go.
For months, this minister claimed that he had no communication, that he wasn't the one referenced in the text, and that he had nothing to do with his former business partner. Finally, after relentless pressure, the minister admitted he did text his business partner, and he even called him to discuss their business, something he's prohibited from doing by law. Why did the minister, who claimed he had nothing to hide for months, hide this damning evidence?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Well said, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've indicated very clearly the Ethics Commissioner, which is an independent office of the House of Commons, has not once but twice cleared the minister. Having said that, Madam Speaker, my challenge to the Conservative Party across the way is to understand that they actually have a responsibility to Canadians that goes beyond serving the Conservative Party of Canada. Madam Speaker, I would suggest that they are doing a great disservice to Canadians in every region of the country by the behaviour that they take day in and day out on the floor of the House of Commons.
Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Well, Madam Speaker, I would say that this Liberal government has a responsibility to tell Canadians the truth.
Wow.
The minister, only after turning over his phone to the Ethics Commissioner, only after months of relentless pressure, finally admitted that he did indeed talk to his business partner, something he's not allowed to do under law. He admits that they discussed business, and this was after his business partner lied to a parliamentary committee by ridiculously claiming that the 9 references to the minister was just an autocorrect. If the minister can't be trusted to disclose what he called just an innocent conversation, how can he be trusted to be truthful?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Dropping a bomb, eh?
Not once, but twice, the Ethics Commissioner has cleared the minister. That is the truth. The member makes reference to the truth. Seriously, Madam Speaker, this comes from a Conservative, that ultimately a Conservative party that spreads so much misinformation and false facts, fake news, you name it. Social media, Madam Speaker, when are they going to start to be honest with Canadians? What their hidden agenda is all about? I'll tell you why, because they know that...
The honourable member.
Just because you start screaming that somebody is calling mis and dis or spreading mis and disinformation doesn't mean that that's true. Like this is what's wrong with these people is they just scream into the void and they make these wild accusations and they don't have anything to substantiate their claims. What is the mis and disinformation that you're claiming? Right? I literally caught you. I fact checked you on this live stream. Are you spreading mis and disinformation? Can now the Conservatives say that you're spreading mis and disinformation, Kevin? Like it's just ridiculous, man. These people are nuts. Also, great to see Dane Lloyd back in the House. He hasn't really made too many appearances.
The Senate is thumbing its nose at farmers. This is the proof. In 82, a bill with one article supported by all the members of this House was stuck in the Senate for more than a year. More than a year to study more than one article on supply management. How come the Senate is taking so much time to study C-76 yesterday? 3 days, not one, but 3. 2 Liberal-appointed senators are blocking this bill. They are mocking farmers. Can we ask them to stop this? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Of course, we're a party that has always supported supply management. We also support this bill in question, and we expect the other place to pass this legislation. But we haven't talked about to the other party across the
I got some super chats and I haven't even acknowledged them, man. My bad.
They're quiet on this issue. And
Mr. Peachy, the first one.
Make calls to their Conservative
Thank you for the 5.
colleagues there.
Pierre
for Joliette.
FTW.
What we're asking is to speak to this.
Pierre for the win. Hit the like.
Because their role should be.
Yeah, it's true. If you guys haven't hit the like button, might as well smash it right now.
That are voted on by elected officials. This is our democracy.
It's climate deductible.
There
I'm going to start saying that.
Known senators that no one voted for that are
Hank the Hill.
This legislation.
$5. Thank you, sir.
Remind you that if
Let's go Friday stream.
Adopted.
Yeah, kind of rare.
29th will be not supporting the Liberals, and we have to protect our farmers, or are we just
Moody with the 5? When do you think the Bloc
here?
would actually vote non-confidence?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
When do I think the Bloc will vote in non-confidence? I want to address this one right now, actually, because I have a little fun statistic about this. I think they're going to vote before October 18th. And I can tell you that I made a bet with somebody actually on X, and you guys should follow me on X. I've got some good stuff there. Let's take a look at my X account for a second. I made a post here. Is it all in frame? Let's take a look here. I made a post. Okay. Bloc moved the goalpost and decided they aren't waiting until October 29th, but rather waiting until next week. There are no signs that Trudeau will support the Bloc, so we will likely see an election in the coming weeks. Woohoo! That's what I said. 46,000 views on X. Not bad. Now, Armin here, who I've never had contact with, don't know who he is. I followed him because of this interaction. He said, bet me. And I said, stickers. I'll send you a free sticker pack if I'm wrong. And you send me stickers if I'm right. Deal? And Armin said, what kind of stickers do you like? I said, I only want one sticker from you. And I wanted to say, I lost a bet to Mistersunshinebaby. And that got a very positive reaction. As you can see, a lot of people gave some likes to that. They're happy with that. And then he said, what are the terms? What's the deadlines? And I said, I'm betting that the Bloc will vote in favor of a non-confidence before October 18th. And we digitally shook our hands on that, right? So that's my prediction, that the Bloc will vote in favor of non-confidence by October 18th. That's my prediction. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have a similar prediction or a counter prediction. But yeah, sometimes I make these little deals. I make these little deals sometimes on X. I've never really made a bet like that publicly, but nonetheless, it's there. So let's get back to the House, shall we?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I said already, we're a part of it's always supported supply management. We're going to continue to do so, and we're expecting the other place to pass this bill. And I know that my Bloc colleagues are doing their work at the Senate, as are we. We're making calls, but once again, I haven't heard the official opposition make any calls on their side of the House on this bill.
After 9 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the corruption. We now know the Prime Minister's friend and media buddy, Tom Clark, was instrumental when it came to purchasing his new $9 million luxury condo on Billionaires Row, New York. A condo which includes Italian marble, a $5,000 coffee machine, and a golf simulator. This as Canadians continue to struggle with an unprecedented cost of living crisis. Will the Liberal government admit there is no justification for Canadian taxpayers having to foot the bill for this lavish condo?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
The truth is, and the fact is simple, that the new residence that has been purchased will cut costs, will save money. On this side of the House, we'll always stand up for Canada and the best interests of Canadians. We'll engage with international leaders. We will continue to do the work that we need to do internationally, diplomatically, while saving taxpayers' money. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Yorkton Melville.
After 9 years of these NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up. The Liberals' $60 million Arrive scam exposed contracting fraud on taxpayers, called bait and switch. High-priced consultants overbill, underdeliver, and sometimes don't even do the work. High-priced consultants line their pockets while taxpayers are paying the bills. Canada's contracting watchdog is launching a review. How much contracting fraud will taxpayers be on the hook for, and will the Liberals get Canadians their money back?
Great question. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, we have said time and time again that we expect our procurement process to follow all of the rules and regulations. Any misconduct will come with severe consequences. The CBSA has already implemented a number of measures to strengthen the transparency around procurement processes. They are working with the various commissioners to find additional ways to ensure that Canadians can have trust in our procurement process with CBSA, and we are supportive of the CBSA's work in this area.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Madam Speaker, according to media reports, this Liberal government has covered up the contamination of a Transport Canada dock operated in northern Albertan Indigenous communities. The big dock, as it's referred to, is known as a community hub. It's where couples go for a walk, where people fish, where kids go to play and swim. Did this government really cover up the contamination of this dock? Yes or no?
Wow.
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
I didn't know about that.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I want to say that safety is
Come on, Anita.
priority.
You're misgendering the speaker.
And I hear and understand the concerns from the First Nations communities. It is absolutely crucial for remote and northern and Indigenous communities to have access to safe and reliable connectivity that they need. I will work with them to ensure that the operations at the facility are being carried out safely. The work is ahead of us, and we will make sure that we're on top of it. Thank you.
Good answer, Anita. Good answer. Honourable member for Ottawa-Vanier.
Madam Speaker, wildfires are becoming more and more unpredictable. As keepers of the land, Indigenous communities have long held deep local and knowledge to mitigate their impacts. Earlier this week, the Leader of the Opposition tokenized Indigenous cultural practices when it comes to protecting the environment. To the Minister of Indigenous Services, why is it important that First Nations take the lead when protecting communities, lands, and waters?
Here. The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much to the member for Ottawa-Vanier for the question. And as she knows, there's a direct link between climate change and wildfires, extreme wildfires that we've been seeing across the country worsening for First Nation members. And so we've changed the way that the Government of Canada supports First Nations so that they have the
They just don't.
financially and from a self-determination.
We've changed the way to just not doing it anymore.
And good news, last wildfire season, Madam Speaker, half as many people evacuated from First Nations communities. We're going to continue to work with the real experts in this country, Madam Speaker, First Nations and their partner.
The Honourable Member for Brantford Brant.
Madam Speaker, another day, another shooter on our streets. This time a 21-year-old dirtbag, or as described by a veteran detective, a muppet, with a record of 21 failures to comply with court orders, and not surprisingly, out on bail, sent a young cop to the emergency ward with a bullet in his gut. This NDP Liberal government's hug-a-thug mentality is putting cops and the public in emergency rooms and in morgues. When will this government prioritize safety rather than empathy for cop shooters?
Hear, hear.
Criminals in general.
The Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That last statement is just outrageous. I live in the city of Toronto where this police officer worked. Myself, my family, and my neighbors rely on them every single day, and we're grateful for the work they do.
Hug a thug. That's the Liberal policy.
This member is a former Crown prosecutor, as he likes to remind us time and time again. It's provincial responsibility to deal with the enforcement of bail laws. The Crown prosecutors are appointed by the province of Ontario. The justices of the peace who administer the laws are appointed and paid for by the province of Ontario. He's asking the wrong people the question.
The Honourable Member for Brantford Brant.
Almost everyone they arrest is out on bail. No one stays in jail where they belong. And they laugh. This is the president of the Toronto Police Association. Wake up. Whoa! Canadians are waking up to more news of shootings and murders. The minister bragged that his bail reform bill would make our streets safer. But the truth is, more criminals are out on bail, and Canadians are more frightened than ever. This bill is a complete failure. How many more lost lives is it going to take for the government to finally embrace jail, not bail, for serious violence?
Hey, yo, put some W's in the chat for Uncle Brock.
And he's pointing in the wrong direction. There are justices of the peace every day in the province of Ontario who are releasing people on bail because of the inhumane conditions.
James Maloney, more like James Baloney.
I had a question. We allow the Parliament Secretary to answer. Order! From the top.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
She's going to throw a shoe at you if you don't stop talking.
In the province of Ontario, there are justices of the peace who are appointed by the provincial government who are letting people out on bail because the conditions inside provincially built, provincially funded, and provincially operated prisons are inhumane and not okay for people, even prisoners, to be in. There is judicial decisions by justices of the peace who have considered this fact regularly, and they said until those conditions change, that's going to be a major consideration when they're listening to bail applications.
The honourable member for Kildonan.
Yeah, she's scarier than Greg Fergus.
Speaker, after 9 years of these Liberals, of these NDP Liberals, violent crime in Canada is up 50%. That is their responsibility, Madam Speaker, and it's really no wonder. Police report there are 790 repeat violent offenders just walking the streets in Mississauga and Brampton. Police say almost everyone they arrest is out on bail, yet Liberals have made it very clear, especially yesterday in question period, that they support repeat violent offenders getting bail, no matter what, no matter who gets hurt, Madam Speaker. What is it going to take for the Liberals to realize that their catch and release policies are costing innocent Canadians their lives?
Wow. Welcome back, Raquel.
They just don't understand, Madam Speaker. They don't want to understand, Madam Speaker. The laws are in place. They can't be enforced properly because the province is underfunding the system. 1 hour ago, none other than Ben Mulroney was on his podcast, and he said one of the biggest problems is the lack of resources provided by the provincial government in the province of Ontario, and that's why people are getting out on bail. Full stop. They need to pay attention, look in the right direction. The laws here are in place. They stop sensationalizing and be serious.
The honourable member for Dartmouth Cole Harbour.
Madam Speaker, the Halifax Regional Municipality is home to a thriving maritime defence industry. Fleet Week, the Halifax International Security Forum, and of course our Atlantic Navy Fleet. In Dartmouth Cole Harbour alone, we're home to a thriving defence innovation ecosystem, including the Centre for Ocean Ventures and Entrepreneurship, and hundreds of startups and established companies working and innovating in this sector. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defence share with this House how our government's investments in defence and industry will benefit the Halifax Regional Municipality, Canada, and the world?
Mr. Secretary to the Minister of National Defence.
Thank you very much. As a proud founding member of NATO, we know Canada must do our fair share on the world stage. And this week, I was very pleased to open one of 3 international headquarters for the NATO Defence Innovation Accelerator.
Looks like a character out of the movie Minions or something.
Diana in Halifax, Madam Speaker. Diana will facilitate cooperation between military operators and NATO's best and brightest startups, researchers, and tech companies. While the Conservatives are against funding for NATO, Diana, we on this side of the House are investing in Atlantic Canadian ingenuity and promoting NATO's defence excellence here at home.
The honourable member for Esquimalt-Saanich-Sooke.
Canada made a commitment to eliminate new cases of HIV by 2030, and there's still time to stop the spread of HIV, which is now hitting Indigenous women and other marginalized Canadians hardest. Community-based HIV organizations have laid out the necessary path in 2 proposals costing less than $175 million. Will this government provide the necessary funding to community-based HIV/AIDS organizations to ensure all Canadians are able to access HIV testing and then get connected to care? Or, despite its promises, is this government okay to continue to see the number of new HIV cases in Canada rise instead of fall?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and I want to thank the member opposite for his steadfast advocacy for patients suffering from HIV/AIDS. I believe that the member opposite would agree that we are all committed to making sure that we provide care for people who suffer from HIV/AIDS, and that's why our government has been investing over almost $90 million to help tackle sexually transmitted and blood-borne infections across Canada, which includes almost over $30 million under the HIV and Hepatitis C Community Action Fund and the Harm Reduction Fund. Of course, there's more work to be done, and we'll continue to work with all members of this House to ensure that all Canadians suffering from HIV...
The Honourable Member for Richmond,
Cut him off.
Arthabaska. Madam Speaker, Quebecers who use community clinics, hospital dental departments, or long-term care homes can't access the federal dental care program because of disputes between the Quebec and Canadian governments. Some of these patients are children, are vulnerable, or less affluent, or have a disability. Dentists are sorry that they can't register their patients. All of these people are trapped and penalized because our governments can't get their act together. Can the Prime Minister tell us what stage discussions are at so that this unacceptable situation can be resolved? The Honourable Minister. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for his question, and I share his indignation with respect the Quebec government that wants to prevent dental treatment to the most vulnerable members of our society, people who are in long-term care homes, children in the hospital, Saint-Justine, who don't have access to this care, even though they pay their taxes. Normally, the Bloc would be against this, and I would ask them to add their voices to ours. It's a lack of judgment from the Quebec government.
Ainsi prend fin la période de questions orales. Volume des...
All right.
Volume. I wish to...
That's the end of QP. I think we're going to keep going. They got some points of order and more orders of business here. That's all right. It's Friday, folks. It's Friday. We'll keep going a little bit. I will keep reading some chats, though, as it goes on.
Inform the House that the volume of earpieces will now be reset.
We'll have to readjust the volume. Okay, daily routine of business, tabling of documents. Tabling of documents.
OESNTD. Adern with the $2. The other option is to prorogue Parliament. Thanks for that.
Parliamentary delegations.
Matthew with the 5.
Présentation de rapport de comité.
Liberals, all they need to do is be transparent like they promised in 2015. I mean, that would certainly help them. It wouldn't be worse.
Motions.
Mr. Peachy with the 5. Support Conservatives to fix Canada and hit the like. Hey, Mr. Peachy, thank you.
Edmonton.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to present a petition in which petitioners are calling on this Parliament to pass Bill S-281, known as Brian's Bill, in honor of Brian Olisic, who was murdered in a triple murder at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. And petitioners are calling for this bill to be passed to prevent criminals convicted of multiple murders, or murder for that matter, from being eligible for parole after serving their minimum sentence.
Presenting petitions, the Honourable Member for Sandwich School Filings.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Petitioners from my constituency in Sandwich Gulf Islands have been persistent in raising issues, including in this petition, relating to the need to protect old-growth forests and the species that depend upon them, particularly in the case of the marbled murrelet, an extraordinarily small seabird that only nests on the forest floor of old-growth forests. The petitioners are calling for the Government of Canada to immediately protect all critical old-growth habitat for marbled murrelets, and that would be habitat that could be protected federally through the Canadian government's commitment to the Migratory Birds Convention Act. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Présentation de pétition, je reconnais l'honorable député de Bruce Gray.
Presenting petitions, the honourable member for Bruce Gray Owen Sound.
Two petitions to present today. The first petition, signed by a number of my constituents in my riding, actually supports my private member's bill 377, which would allow parliamentarians to apply for a secret security clearance. And they call upon the House here to swiftly pass my bill to allow parliamentarians that ability to apply for a secret security clearance.
Moody with the 5. It's sad how Indigenous people seem to only matter when there's an election, but they'll give them a big FU when it comes to actually helping. Yes, Moody.
Pointing out,
you are correct.
9 years of this Liberal government that the economy is in terrible shape. There's crime, chaos, and drugs in the street, and therefore they're calling upon the government to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, and immediately have a vote of non-confidence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hey, we'd all love to see it. Rub it up with the 2 U.S. Liberals equal flat earthers. I've never heard that one.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask that all questions be allowed to stand at this time, please.
Jordan English with the 5. Not to mention the billions of dollars sent abroad. That certainly doesn't help our economy.
Resuming debate on a privilege motion concerning the alleged failure to produce documents pertaining to Sustainable Development Technology Canada, standing in the name of Mr. Scheer, and on the amendment of Mr. Berthoud.
Avant que je reconnaisse
Before giving the floor to the next speaker,
See, now we're talking about alleged failure
that the
to
member
produce documents pertaining to sustainable development.
but I want to ensure that interpretation is working properly. Is everything working? Yes. Very well. So
Okay, looks like we got a whole nother round of stuff.
brief question. The member
I'm going to keep reading though here.
Gulf Islands has 1 minute.
Stephanie with the 2-line libs, thank you.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands.
Brett Hiscock
Thank you, Speaker. So my question to the honourable member
with the 699. Thank you, sir.
This is an organization with incredible potential, $1 billion. It received a clean audit in 2017 after being under Conservative stewardship, but following the appointment of a Liberal-friendly board chair, we have seen identified conflict of interest and frankly, grift and corruption. Does she think that we need to have these documents referred to the RCMP so that Canadians can get accountability for their money?
l'honorable député de Sanet.
The honourable member for
Wow.
Gulf Islands, 30 seconds, please.
Thank you to my honourable colleague from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes. I hope I got that right. The question of reference to the RCMP is of less critical importance to me as a parliamentarian than that when Parliament asks for the documents, they should be delivered to Parliament. But that was part of the motion that was carried. The RCMP is, of course, a separate agency from Parliament, and I think it's important to recognize that. But once the House has them, we should make them public, and that would include the RCMP.
Whoa.
Député Denis Pian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
That'll be huge. If it gets to that point, and we can have access to those documents, that's huge. Ladies and gentlemen, that is huge.
I've been listening to this debate for quite some time, and some of the interesting things
Brett Hiscock with the 279 again.
It has still not.
Larry Brock, my man.
Certain confusion I have.
Yeah, we need some more Uncle Brock. We need some more Uncle Brock, man. He's on fire when he gets going.
I agree that the parliamentary is supreme in many ways.
And Brett Hiscock again.
Does it have absolute
With the 279, this government is delusional and wrong.
Supreme.
You are correct,
And,
Mr. Hiscock.
I am not very sure that we have that. Canadian system of government, Mr. Speaker, as we all know, that we have 3 branches. The legislative branch, which passes the laws.
KC, welcome to the membership.
That implements
Thank you for that.
laws, and the judicial branch that interprets them. So this is the thing I understand, and both the RCMP and Auditor General have
Yo, chat, chill.
that the separation of powers that we have.
That's all right. It's all right. We'll skip through it. It's all good, chat. It's all good. I do want to mention I muted the feed so I can hear it, so I can skip forward for you guys. I do want to say that channel members, if you want to purchase a sticker pack, there's a 15% off code that is accessible only to channel members right now on the community tab feed. So only channel members can see it. So it's on this channel, House of Canada, if you're a member here. But if you're a member on MSB, go to either or channels page that you're a member from, and you'll get that 15% off code. For right now, it's only on the new sticker packs, the 2 new packs that came out. But nonetheless, it is there. Oh man, this guy talks for a long time, eh? We're gonna keep going, chat. We're gonna keep going. I have a hard time hearing him or understanding him. I think a lot of people do. James is good here. Here we go.
Time left for a quick question, 15 or 20 seconds. The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
So to the main question that we have here, the House by majority vote, not just the Conservatives, have ordered that these documents be produced. On what basis can the government refuse a legal order of the majority of democratically elected members?
The honourable member, 15 seconds.
Speaker, I got this small concern. Whenever majority of the members here decide something, is it absolute? That's my question.
What?
Resuming debate.
Okay.
Recognize the honourable
That was
member
weird.
for South Kirk Interlake.
Mr. Speaker, and I'm glad to join in on today's debate on the question of privilege and the violation of parliamentary privilege by the Liberal government in refusals to produce documents as it relates to the SDTC scandal. Now, we know, and I'll just do a quick recap for those that are just tuning in. We know that the government has taken the Sustainable Development Technology Canada and turned it into a green slush fund for Liberal insiders and friends. The Auditor General did a complete investigation on the governance of SDTC.
Pay attention to this, guys. This is it.
Forward. And she found over $390 million worth of contracts were given inappropriately by the board of directors, who all had multiple conflicts of interest. Now, SDTC is a Crown corporation. It's funded fully by the taxpayers of Canada, and every person that serves on that board of directors, including its CEO, is appointed by this government. The Liberal Minister of Industry individually appoints through order in council all of those directors. It should be noted, and as a former chair of the Environment Committee who worked closely with SDTC, that the committee, or that organization, had worked perfectly until 2017. In 2017, the former Minister of Industry, Navdeep Bains, who is no longer a member in this House, went and hired on with Rogers Corporation and making a pile of money doing that. He fired the existing chair and board of SDTC and loaded it up with Liberal friends and insiders, many of them who had already received grants through Sustainable Development Technology Canada. Now, when the Auditor General started doing her research, she found that there was $58 million. We're not talking pennies here. This makes ad scam look like nickel and dime stuff. This is $58 million were awarded on 10 ineligible projects. She found another $334 million on 186 cases of money that was given to projects in which the 9 board members actually had a conflict of interest and never recused themselves from the decision-making process. And that in $58 million worth of projects, almost $59 million worth of projects, that there was no contribution agreement or terms that were ever met. Now, the Auditor General made it clear that the failure of this is upon the Liberal Minister of Industry, who didn't follow through on his oversight and making sure that governance was followed. He turned a blind eye when they found out that they were actually handing out money to Liberal insiders. And we know that the Minister of the Environment was tied to Cycle Capital, one of the companies that was receiving grants from SDTC, and we know that there was actually a board member on that fund who was also with Cycle Capital, who said that his shares increased by 1,000% after receiving SDTC funding. 1,000%. And the Minister of Environment benefited as well. That is corruption at its core. We also know that yesterday, the RCMP opened up their investigation into the 9 directors identified by the Auditor General in the SDTC Green Slush Fund scandal. But should we at all be surprised by this, Mr. Speaker? You know, this is a Liberal government that has always been ethically challenged. It is scandal-plagued, and the Liberals have a culture of corruption. And all I have to do is go back, and I mentioned ad scam from 2000 to 2004. I was elected in 2004. And we were dealing with the ad scam fallout back then. But we've witnessed it going on and on as we move forward. You know, let's not forget SNC-Lavalin scandal in 2019, where the Prime Minister put pressure on his Justice Minister at the time, Jody Wilson-Raybould, to approve contracts to and also provide a pardon to SNC-Lavalin so that they can tender on and bid on government contracts again. She said no, and the Prime Minister fired Jody Wilson-Raybould because she wouldn't follow his word. She did her job as the Attorney General of Canada, in making sure that the law was respected and that these individuals weren't given a free pass for their fraudulent activities in other countries and here in Canada. We know that the Prime Minister was found in violation by the Ethics Commissioner for putting undue pressure on Jody Wilson-Raybould. And of course, that wasn't the first time that he'd been found in violation of our ethics rules. It was only the second time, but he's the first Prime Minister in history to actually face an ethics scandal. We look back on the scandal of 2020, and here we had the Liberals, again, trying to shovel money into the hands of their friends at the We Charity, over $500,000. Luckily, we were able to get that stopped. But we found out, again, Liberal insiders, including Bill Marneau, who, the former Minister of Finance, was actually tied directly back to the We Charity. His daughter worked for the We Charity, and he was in there advocating, not recusing himself from decision-making processes. You look at all the foreign interference that has taken place in the blind eye that has been given by these Liberals on what's happening here. The Arrive scam is another one that, again, we have millions and millions of dollars going in the pockets of two guys.
68
found
million.
out later that the Arrive Can app could have been set up for about $154 million. But no, we're talking $54 million plus that was used by these individuals to enrich themselves because they were tied directly to Liberal insiders.
I think you meant 154,000.
And
that's okay.
Let's not forget about the Winnipeg lab documents in 2021. In 2020 it started. The House requested and ordered for the production of documents. The government stalled it and blocked it and even took the Speaker to court to try to stop the production of these documents that showed, when we did receive them finally this year, that the two scientists in question were actually operatives for the People's Liberation Army in Beijing, and that viruses were shipped to China, that intel on different vaccines were also shipped over to China, and who knows what other security breaches happened at the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg. And the Liberals were too scared to let the public see it. And they were so scared in 2021 that instead of providing those documents and having everything come out through the Supreme Court, they called an election. And that, of course, prorogued Parliament, and the process stopped. I think some of us over here would actually like these guys to, call an election now, so that we can have an election that stops the documents coming forward if that's what the Liberals want to do. And Canadians can make the decision on how badly they want to put the Liberals in the penalty box based upon their continued unethical behavior and corruption that they plague their government. Now, I've mentioned that there's been ongoing ethical violations by this government as well. The Prime Minister was found to be guilty for taking a private vacation on Billionaire Island and using unsanctioned aircraft. We know that Bill Marneau was found in the WE scandal, had to resign over it. We know that the Public Safety Minister has been found guilty by the Ethics Commissioner on 2 different occasions, including awarding family members clam contracts in one of the Crown corporations. He was also found guilty of having his sister-in-law, I believe it was, made as the interim ethics commissioner.
I got to pause it for a second because I know a lot of people, and myself included in this, a lot of people like to only really just look for that confirmation bias of what is happening and a direct correlation to how many clicks and views videos have, or if it's on the mainstream media and if it's being covered. This is all true. This is real. Justin Trudeau is 100% eligible to be criminally charged by the RCMP. You have seen already so far in this speech by this Conservative member, you've seen so many of these scandals and ethics violations and wasteful hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone towards lining his own pockets and his friends and family's pockets. 100%. Unequivocally, they are eligible, him, Justin Trudeau, and other Liberal MPs, to be criminally charged. And this just kind of gets swept under the rug as like just these grungy YouTube videos and nothing is ever going to happen. But the truth is that something could happen, and it's likely, it's increasingly becoming more and more likely to happen because it's all unraveling itself right now with this kind of Hail Mary move that the Conservatives are pulling off. And so a lot of people out there see these videos and they go, oh yeah, wow, that's cool, but why isn't it on CTV or CBC? Why do you think? They don't like to do this. They don't like to, they have a bias. They don't like to provide their boss with bad press, but it's all 100% real. You have sworn elected officials literally talking about it right now. This is very, very important, folks. This would be a good time to remind people to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, turn post notifications on so you can stay fully up to date on this type of information.
Like, how is there any, unbiased there when they're family members? And we make for interesting family gatherings like Christmas supper. And we also got the trade minister who went and gave her BFF, her campaign manager, contracts directly out of her department, out of her office, without tendering them out at all. And she was found in violation of the ethics rules. And now we have the Liberals obstructing our parliamentary process. They are also obstructing justice. Will they turn these documents over to the RCMP? I doubt it. They're going to claim some sort of cabinet secrecy. But, we have to make sure that the rules of this place, our parliamentary procedure, our Constitution, our Charter, even the British North America Act, is respected. And that's the last thing that these Liberals are doing, Mr. Speaker. Now, they keep claiming, oh, well, this is all about charter rights. And I'll just repeat what the leader of the Conservative Party said yesterday. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms is designed to protect the people from the government, not provide a cover for the government to hide documents from the people. And we have to recognize that the supremacy of our democratic institution, the Parliament of Canada, is the overall legislative body that writes the rules, that writes the laws, and directs our justice system, not the other way around. And the Liberals are always trying to tilt that discussion. So I just want to say this, that if you look at the rules, Standing Order 108(1)A, which gives the power to the House of Commons, to committees, to Parliament, to order the production of papers. And it, just to reiterate it right out of here, the House of Commons Procedures and Practice, 3rd edition, often we call it Bos Gagnon. And as we look at Chapter 3, page 137, and it says this about Parliament. It says the only limitations which could only be self-imposed would be that an inquiry should relate to the subject within the legislative competence of Parliament, particularly where witnesses and documents are required and the penal jurisdiction of Parliament is contemplated. This dovetails with the right of each House of Parliament to summon and compel the attendance of all persons within the limits of their jurisdiction. It goes on to say, the power to send for persons, papers, and records has been delegated by the House of Commons to its committees in the standing orders. It is well established that Parliament has the right to order any and all documents to be laid before it which it believes are necessary for its information. The power to call for persons, papers, and records is absolute. It's absolute.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I said that the Conservatives, metaphorically speaking, went into the cellar. They went into the dungeon of Parliament that doesn't even have a door with a doorknob on it. It's got the old school prison gates, right? The metal gates, and they unlocked it, they unlatched it, and they pulled it to the side. And there's one little tiny window about this big that shines a little bit of light, enough. And they went in there holding a lantern, Where's that book? Where's that book? Where's that book? And they get hit with cobwebs, and they got to go through all the cobwebs and try not to start a fire with their lantern. And they found this book, and they're pulling it out, and they got all their sticky notes that they need with all the pages of exactly what they were doing to pull out this Hail Mary. Literally has never been done before. The Conservatives are making Canadian history happen right in front of our eyes.
And the Liberals here continue to avoid, dither, delay, deflect, rather than comply with an order of the House. And then we know, Mr. Speaker, based upon the Speaker's decision, when he came to the conclusion that this is a prima facie question of privilege that has been established, and that's what we're in here debating today and have been all week. Because in it, he said, the procedural precedents and authorities are abundantly clear. The House has the undoubted right to order the production of any and all documents from any entity or individual it deems necessary to carry out its duties. And here we have a majority of duly elected honorable members from across the country that are calling on the government to deliver. And I wonder if we're going to see the Liberals go and try to block this process again, either by taking the Speaker back to court because they do not respect Parliament, or are they going to prorogue and stop all processes again? Possibly. That's something that we're all wondering about. Or if they really think that this should be something that the people of Canada should have a say on, let's call an election. And then we can talk about things like the carbon tax and how it's impacting and hurting Canadians from coast to coast to coast. We can talk about how their out-of-control policies and hug-a-thug have created crime and chaos on our streets, the worst that we've ever seen. We can talk about how the housing crisis is making it impossible for young Canadians to achieve the Canadian dream of owning their own home. And we can talk about how the reckless spending is breaking our country, driving up inflation, and hurting employment right across this country. Never mind productivity is on the downturn, that we are now making 50% less, or the Americans are making 50% more than we are. That to me is troubling, to say the least, because when they came to power, the financial situation in this country was strong. Canadians were making more money in the middle class than what Americans were, and now we have fallen so far back because of the uncreative and negating policies that have hurt Canadians all over our country. Now, we know that when you look at some of these situations, and I just got to find my papers here, this all came to light because of a whistleblower who's been at committee, and I just want to read some of their quotes onto the record here. And this one, I think, is a couple here that are really important. It says, first of all, the true failure of the situation stands at the feet of our current government, whose decision to protect wrongdoers and cover up their findings over the last 12 months is a serious indictment of how our democratic systems and institutions are being corrupted by political interference. By the Liberals themselves, Mr. Speaker, and we hear it here all the time, that they are not at all trying to comply with the Auditor General report or what the Industry Committee has said. They have not tried to comply with this order to produce the papers that are so necessary in getting down to the bottom of what happened here and how their friends and Liberal insiders are getting rich while the rest of us continue to get poorer.
Amen for the whistleblowers, huh?
I think the current government is more interested in protecting themselves and protecting the situation being a public nightmare, and they'd rather protect the wrongdoers and financial mismanagement than have to deal with a situation like this SDTC and the public sphere. So again, instead of bring this out in the open. You know, we want to talk about transparency. We know that sunlight is the best disinfectant, so let the sun shine in.
Working on it, sir.
Open up the louvers, you know, maybe.
Mr. Sunshine's on it.
And we'll actually have some actual truth and honesty coming from this Liberal government. So, Madam Speaker, you know, I look at this and you know, the whistleblower goes on. I know the federal government, like the minister, has continued saying there was no criminal intent and nothing was found, but I think the committee would agree that they're not to be trusted on this situation. I would happily agree to whatever the findings are by the RCMP, but I would say that I wouldn't trust that there isn't any criminality unless the RCMP is given full authority to investigate. And as we know now, the RCMP is going to do their job and going to get down to the bottom of this. You know, when you look at this scandal, you know, SDTC had their hands on about $100 million a year of taxpayer money to hand out to help new startup organizations, companies, bring in new sustainable type projects, new technologies, and help Canadians with bringing in some of these new technologies to deal with everything from wastewater to greenhouse gas emissions to new software programs that will help reduce waste in our homes. And yet, because of the political interference that we saw from Navdeep Bains when he was Minister of Industry, by the order and council appointments that were made through him by this Prime Minister and his Liberal cabinet, that we're seeing individuals come in and ultimately enrich themselves. The key problem in all this is that the SDTC executives, when they were put in as Liberal insiders, decided instead of helping out other companies, they decided to enrich themselves. They decided to help their own companies and grant themselves their own government funds, which is a complete violation and criminality of proper governance. And the Minister of Industry decided to willfully turn a blind eye, and the Liberals have been trying to cover this up ever since.
And it all ends now. It all ends now with involving the RCMP and escalating this to criminal investigation and criminal charges. The Liberals, Justin Trudeau, everyone involved with all of these SDTC scandals, the slush fund, everything there, they've had many, many, many opportunities. They thought they buried this book. They couldn't get rid of it. They thought they buried it. They thought they buried this rule book down in that cellar, but the Conservatives went in. They went in with their lantern. They went in searching, and they found it. And this is not going to end well for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. And if for some reason, somehow, they find the book that counters this book, Trudeau finds a book that counters this book, and they find a way to block what the Conservatives are trying to do right now, I mean, it's going to be the biggest corruption scandal that we have ever seen, where they're blocking, quite literally, the RCMP from conducting their investigation into this. The RCMP has already began their investigation, as we've heard during the question period on Friday, which nobody shows up for, right? Luckily, House of Canada, we stream it, got over 30,000 views, right? 40,000 views. It's phenomenal. Thank you so much to the community. But nonetheless, more and more people have to be aware of what's going on, which is why it's so, so important to smash the like button, subscribe, and share the videos out. You don't even have to be subscribed. It helps. It helps. But share the videos out so more and more people can be aware of what's going on. Because I'll be honest, I'll be the first to admit, this stuff right here, this can put me to sleep, right? Some people put white noise, sounds of rain, right? A jungle sound next to their bed when they go to sleep. Other people listen to podcasts, right? Maybe Joe Rogan or something like that. Some people can listen to parliamentary, our politicians talk, because it's dry and it's long and it's tedious. But this is government. This is government. This is politics. And that's how it's been. It's how it's going to continue to be. But we're trying to change it. Just as you heard the member say, we need to disinfect it with some sunshine. Mr. Sunshine is here reporting for duty, sir or ma'am. I don't know. What's the pronoun? Reporting for duty. Person? Who knows? Nonetheless, we're doing our job and Conservatives are doing theirs. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're going to end this live stream. It does continue on a little bit, but my wife just brought me some homemade chili right next to my desk here. And oh, I got to eat this. See this here? Look at this. Oh, man, dude. Look at that. So I'm gonna go. We're going to end the stream. That was a good note to end it on, eh? That was pretty good. And Hugh and man, huh? Those are the pronouns. Hugh man. Thanks for tuning into the stream, everybody. I don't normally stream Fridays. Turns out, wasn't too bad. Maybe we're gonna have to do it some more. Got a couple super chats here that I did not acknowledge. Sunny days, my friends. Sunny days. This is Sunny? Question mark. This is Matthew Galligan with the $2.50. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Mr. Brett Hiscock. Is your middle name Giant? Brett Giant Hiscock? With the $6.99. All the Conservatives talk is true. Don't know about anyone else, but when the Liberals talk, it feels like I'm staring into my garbage can. Anyone else? I mean, so far you got 24 thumbs up on that, so I'd say that you're not alone. I'd say you're not alone, Giant Hiscock. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you subscribe. Chances are, though, if you're watching the stream already this far into it, you are subscribed. But nonetheless, just check to see if you are. Hit that little bell notification. Click and tap that bell icon so you can actually get notifications of upcoming streams, right? Streams here are very valuable. We go over in-depth coverage of what's going on parliamentary. Sometimes I eat, sometimes I don't. I ate at the beginning of the stream. I ate some yogurt. That's how long I've been streaming. 2 hours. I mean, 2 meals. Are you kidding me? Yogurt and granola at the start, and now I got homemade chili. Come on. Kudos to everybody who stuck around for this full thing, or whether you tuned in when it started and you stuck around till now. Freaking awesome, man. You guys are awesome. Peace and love, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you go and check out MSB because I'm going to chop this up, and we're going to throw it on there so more people can actually see what's going on. All right. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Bye for now.